Foothills Energy Co-op, in conjunction with Energy Efficiency Alberta and Hard-Knox Brewery in Black Diamond, Alberta, hosted a series of seminars in 2018 called TRUCK-BREW. As the acronym suggests, our aim was to tackle regional understanding about renewable energy. Our first speaker in the series was Larry Kapustka, whose talk was about the relationship between people and the environment.
I'm going to start with a depiction of how we interact with our environment. We start in a place where we live, work, and play. And as we move from our local environment, we find that we're nested inside of other forces that are impacting us. There is not only the environment, there's the local economy. There are local values that differ from one place to another. This Diamond Valley area is different than Okotoks, it's different than High River. So we are influenced by those local values. And the community that is organized around all that influences how we live, work, and play. When we move a little farther out, we start to get into what might be the biome, the larger expanse of the environment that generally influences what we do in terms of whether it's livestock and forests, whether it's grasslands. The overall biodiversity is important for resilience of the goods and services we get from that. And then we get out to the larger sphere, which we could call a global influence. And there are additional factors that influence how we interact with ourselves, how we live, work, and play. And one of the important aspects of all this is the farther out we go, the less control we have over what happens. But that doesn't mean that what happens farther out doesn't have a profound influence on what we're able to do. Yet, in looking at Alberta, we have an abundance of sunshine. And so if we look at the distribution of where we have solar energy, we're kind of in the sweet spot right in here. And it continues on into Saskatchewan and a touch into Manitoba. So we should actually be taking greater advantage of that than we are. So some of the challenges of accessing reliable, affordable energy, there are relatively few options to get off of the international grid, the North American grid. And in fact, the solar panels that I have and David has, and I think everybody else here, it's all connected to the grid. So we have to be dependent on that grid. If the grid goes down, our solar panels do us no good. We are trying to reduce the carbon footprint by shifting away from coal. We recognize that the public generally fears nuclear energy production for various reasons. A problem with solar, well, this couple of days I didn't get a lot of production because I hadn't yet gotten a snow rake and there's snow on my panels. So that doesn't do me much good. Wind generation, you'd think, well, we're in a great spot and Pincher Creek would be even better. But the problem is the turbines have a governor on them. If you get high winds, it has to shut down, otherwise it'll blow the thing apart. So there's a sweet spot that's really not very often met by the wind, and so it looks like there should be great energy production, but it's a difficult thing to translate. Off-grid is a problem because the batteries are still not, the technology is still not there.
Another of our speakers, Julie Bunker, is with Quest, the voice of smart energy in Canada.
There's a lot of excitement and ownership from municipalities and communities to want to do something more, to want to take advantage of some of the opportunities that are out there for local generation. And that's where we try to come in and help, but it can be really challenging to navigate. And so energy security, our reliability, plays a critical role for maintaining the safe and prosperous communities, like I mentioned earlier. And planning for this is a complex issue for communities. So a lot of the times when we see times of prolonged outages for communities, it can really, like I said, impact when you start thinking about how long can people last in their homes without electricity. How fast do you need emergency staff to be out there helping people in your emergency organizations? Do your shelters have backup power and things like that? So helping to navigate it is one of the biggest challenges that we see. So how do we help communities respond to the need to reduce and optimize their current and future energy use while enhancing their economic advantage, livability, and resilience? We need to think about, when we're doing infrastructure planning, things aren't built for 10, 20 years. We're looking at things that are being built out for long term. We're also thinking about our children's generation, our grandchildren's generation, and the world and the earth that we're leaving behind. Like I said here, so the days over 30 are increasing significantly. So for Calgary, by 2080, we're looking at today's levels of 3.7 days over 30 degrees Celsius. You think back to last summer and how hot it was, and we're looking at 27 days over 30 degrees Celsius. So that's a lot of hot, dry days. So when we're looking at an increase in hot days, you also have to think about how that impacts our load, because then people are going to want air conditioning. All of our facilities are going to require some form of cooling, and air conditioning requires a lot of electricity. So from an energy planning perspective, when we're looking at this and what it's going to do to our load projections in the future, this is where the climate predictions come into play. This slide also shows an annual increase in total precipitation, which is true for all seasons. And of course, that doesn't mean necessarily that we're going away from drought. What the predictions are actually saying is that some of the weather events is the intensity, the frequency is increasing. So instead of having a little bit of rain every day, we're looking at more events where we have severe downpours, which can create localized flooding and other things as well.
We also heard from Gordon Howell, one of Alberta's leading solar pioneers.
Well, look, I'm an engineer. I'm allowed to do lots of fun things with numbers. So about 10 years ago, I looked at how much we were extracting in all the coal, oil, bitumen, and methane that we pull from the ground. So we extract 15 exajoules of, which is an energy unit, in coal, oil, methane, and bitumen every year. Exajoule is a huge number. So we extract 15 exajoules per year of coal, oil, methane, and bitumen. We sell 9 to everybody else outside of Alberta. We use 6 ourselves. But of those 6, we only need 3. The other 3 are wasted. Cars that are only 20% efficient, for example. So we waste 3, so we really only need 3 exajoules. But if you take the map of Alberta like I did, section it up, get some data for the various sections, it's not hard to do. Alberta has 3,000 exajoules of solar energy falling on its surface every year. This is a solar province. It's our most abundant energy resource. This is a solar planet. Coal, oil, methane, and bitumen and nuclear are just a passing couple hundred years. So this is the direction we're going. It's fascinating then to look at this graph of a number of cities across the bottom and the solar energy resource in the vertical axis here. Lethbridge and Estevan are the biggest, they have the best solar resource in Canada. Well, here's Calgary. Calgary and Hamilton are roughly the same. They're only 7% less than Lethbridge. 7% is not much. It's just the design factor. And everybody says, oh, in Calgary and Edmonton, oh my goodness, we're way too far north to use solar. Well, no. So an average homeowner in Alberta uses 7,200 kilowatt hours of electricity. It's really important to understand that houses do not use electricity. Homeowners do. You get rid of the homeowners in the house, it's not going to use sweet tweet worth of energy. So I don't care how big your house is, I only care how many people are there and what are their habits and choices, typically. So for Edmonton, you would need a 6,300 watt solar electric system or 22 solar modules at 35 square meters to generate this 7,200. I think down here it's probably more like 5,500 watts instead of 6,300 because you have more solar energy down there. The fully installed cost of this system, depending on if you get fantastic prices by from the two solar installers here in town or not, should cost you in the order of $15,000 to $17,000, depending on the house complexities and how far away it is and how ornery the occupants are, things like that. Roughly a third of the components, the solar modules roughly cost a third. The racking, inverters, wiring, signage, and shipping roughly costs a third, and the labor roughly costs a third. Obviously, it's not quite a third, but third is a reasonable number, roughly speaking. So, that's the costs.
Binnu Jeyakumar, Director of Clean Energy for the PEMBINA Institute, described Alberta's energy sector transformation.
I did talk about some of the health impacts of coal. So one of the things we're going to see with the phase out of coal is actually health benefits. So this is just the inverse of what I was talking about. That means you will have 80 fewer hospitalizations. There were actually 90 premature deaths actually annually attributed to coal. So we're going to see less of that. We're going to see fewer asthma episodes. We're going to see less strain on our health system, just with the phase out of coal. The other big set of programs is on rooftop solar. So I'm sure most folks have heard about this. So the government has another rebate program based on the kind of system you're installing. So if you're installing it in your own on your own house, it's about 90 cents per watt with a maximum of $10,000. If you're a nonprofit organization, this price just went up. It's $1 per watt, maximum of $1 million. If you're a small-scale business or any commercial entity, it's also it's about 75 cents per watt or a maximum of $1 million. On top of this, there are some towns and municipalities that have layered on additional incentives. So Edmonton, I can't remember. I think it might be 15 cents per kilowatt or per watt. So, there's more on this list too that I should add. Banff has one, Brazeau County, Canmore. Something to also consider as a municipality. I know Banff because PEMBINA actually helped design Banff's program. And what they did was they had money left over from local access fees. So this is money that Fortis would pay you as a town because they're using some of your land for their substations. So they collected that fee over several years and they had a pot of money and they decided to use that money to give solar rebates to their residents.
David Bunnell concluded the sessions with his demonstration of installing solar PV.
So the first thing, if you want to install solar, so that's really what I want to talk about. First off, pick a location. And then find a certified solar installer. If you want your rebate, it has to be installed by someone who's certified. So you're going to use your energy bill to get your information. This is my yearly energy bill, our yearly energy bill. I'm just going to draw a line there that's average about 500 kilowatt hours per month, 12 months in a year, that's about 6,000 kilowatts. So you can eyeball that and say, okay, the blue line's, it's about 6,000. And I looked at my meter this morning and that's exactly what we were using.
Foothills Energy Co-op's TRUCK-BREW series supported Energy Efficiency Alberta's aim of raising awareness of solar energy and the economic and environmental benefits. Our attendees were primarily residents of Turner Valley and Black Diamond, Alberta, and the surrounding areas. Residents of other communities such as Calgary and Bragg Creek also came. People reported an increased interest and commitment towards installing solar PV on their homes. Our experts from a variety of energy businesses and utilities were scholar and author Larry Kapustka, Nick Clark from UtilityNet, Julie Bunker from Quest, solar expert Gordon Howell, Binnu Jeyakumar from PEMBINA Institute, Les Quinton from Black Diamond Parks and Rec, David Bunnell from FEC. Organizers were Yana Hicklin and David Bunnell. Video production, Laureen Sheba.